The following program is rated TV MALV. It contains strong language, violence, and nudity. It is intended only for mature audiences.
Happy St. Patrick's Day, Barflies. Welcome to the Barfly Tailgate Show. You already know it's done by Barflies for Barflies and all the other Bears fans out there. Good morning, everybody. We took a little bit of time off for the offseason, and the Bears were like, I called my boy Ryan Poles last night. I was like, look, dog, I got a show tomorrow. I need something to happen that I can talk about. And he was like, all right, I got you, fam. He traded for Keenan Allen. I thought that was going to be it, but then he just goes and does some wild shit yesterday and sends Justin Fields to the Pittsburgh Steelers for absolute fucking peanuts, which is insane to me as a Fields fan, as a self-identifying Fields fanboy. He was my favorite, and I put this on my Twitter, so it's not like I'm hiding behind anything. He was my favorite Bears quarterback. Before him, it was Jay Cutler. I love Jay. A lot of people hated him, but I love Jay. But I liked Justin in the draft. I liked him at Ohio State. I wanted him. I got they drafted the quarterback I wanted, and all for nothing. And Tucci talked about it before we got on live here. They really put this kid in a bad situation. And I'm sorry I didn't really hit intros. I just felt like this was something we had to get into right off the top. If you want to talk about kind of the situation that Justin was thrust into from the second he was brought to the city of Chicago.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a subject of Bears state of affairs for quite a while. If Fields was set up to fail and he failed, I mean, that's what happens when you're set up to fail. I love the kid. I would have liked to have seen what he could do with Shane Waldron. I mean, 3 years, I don't think, was enough to see what he could do, given the circumstances around what had conspired in his 3 years here. Brought into a lame duck coaching staff and GM. That's why I hate hiring rookie GMs, because, I mean, Ryan Poles is still uncurling the mess that Ryan Pace left him. And then the second year, he was a tank year. He had nothing. So, I mean, go out there, you're the start. He was forced to start in his first year because Andy Dalton sucked. He wasn't learning anything from Andy Dalton. The second year was a tank year. We had nobody to throw to. Mm-hmm. The offensive line was garbage. There wasn't a starter on the team that could have started on another team. And then the third year was a first year of a rebuild.
Yeah.
Where he had DJ Moore, and I guess you can give him Cole Kmet. But, set up he's a victim of bad timing. Like I've said countless of times, it's a shame to spend an 11 overall pick and get back a conditional 6th round pick when Kenny Pickett was given away for a 3rd round pick. But I understand Fields is out of contract. You have to pay him sooner. That's why Justin Fields had no trade value. Sam Howell and Pickett still have a year or two left on their rookie deals. Fields, you'd have to exercise the 3rd round or 5th year option.
Yeah, and I agree. A lot of people have been asking me, because I guess I'm the only Bears fan a lot of people know around here. So they'll ask me, what's the deal with Justin? What's the deal with Caleb? Where are they going to go? And I'm like, to me, it came down to I was like, I'm assuming they go Caleb, and they were, and nobody here,
Yep.
and I'm kind of in that boat too, to where I'm not overly impressed by Caleb. But he doesn't seem like coming into the year, he was a generational talent. He won the Heisman. He led USC to an 11-win season, and then it kind of all fell apart after the Notre Dame game this year. But I wasn't overly impressed by him. But when it comes down to it, it's a number of factors that held Justin back. His fourth quarter numbers were absolutely atrocious. As much as I love Justin and I'm an apologist for him. His fourth quarter numbers are unacceptable. I think he had ranked 34th out of 32 NFL quarterbacks, which you can't do that. And granted, like you said, Tooch, there was one of those years where it was a teardown year, which kind of affects his numbers a little bit. But I mean, this year he had three instances that I can think of off the top of my head where we had double-digit leads in the fourth quarter, and he wasn't. And part of that's on the defense, but part of that is also him to not be able to go down and win the
Part
ball.
of it's on the coaching as well.
Absolutely, yeah. A little bit of everybody. And when it comes down to it, these starting quarterbacks, are making $50 million a year, and that's what he's going to ask for in 2 years. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I've had some people say, well, maybe he won't ask for that because he doesn't have the numbers. No, he's a starting quarterback. He's going to ask for what the going rate of a starting quarterback is, which is $50 million. That's what his agent's going to ask for, and he's not going to get anything less. And I can't blame him for that. And on top of that, Jordan, you've brought this up several times. Ryan Poles, if they had Justin this year and it didn't work out, and at the end of the year they're firing everybody and starting back over, then Ryan Poles ends up going in and out of Chicago without ever having his guy under center. Is he going to hitch his wagon to Ryan Pace's truck, per se? So Jordan, if you want to talk a little about the Justin Fields situation, then we can talk about some other free agency moves.
Yeah, no, I mean, fellas, it's and like Aaron said at the top, I mean, he must have good sources because he put the Barfly tailgate return right on the day after Justin Fields trade. But no, I mean, somebody else said earlier that it's an emotional subject for a lot of people, and I mean, I don't know if I've ever told this story, but and I don't look, man, no shame in my game. I cried when Justin Fields got drafted, and I don't know, I gotta be honest, it wasn't necessarily because I wasn't happy tears. I was actually very sad because I was like, they did it again. They let this incompetent organization with this incompetent staff draft a kid. And I was just so worried because actually at the time, to be quite frank with you, I thought that it meant we had Nagy and Pace for another 4 years. But looking back now, I got to be honest, I actually wish that would have been the case. Not because I think Pace or Nagy would have done us right, but you would have at least given Justin Fields a fair shake. And like I've said many times, and I want to be very clear, I think that there's a lot of positive things for anybody to say about Ryan Poles, but I will never forgive Ryan Poles for the gross incompetence and negligence that he did. And I understand it worked out great for him. He was able to leverage a first overall pick for DJ Moore, and look where he's at now. He's got another first overall pick 2 years in a row. Everything's worked out for the Bears and for Ryan Poles, but the selfishness and that gross incompetence for how he handled the career of a young man, just as the Bears have wrecked the careers of a Jay Cutler, of a Mitch Trubisky, of a Tariq Cohen, of you name it, all the list of them. Everybody's happier when they leave Chicago, and that's the sad reality. And I hope that Ryan Poles is actually trying to change that around. But the way that they grossly mishandled Justin Fields is what will always stick with me, and it's why I will never forgive him. Because at the end of the day, and I've said this before, and
cold business, Jordan.
Yeah, no, and I get it's a business, and I understand he did what he needed to do, and we're going to talk about that trade return value. But to me, I've always said that his business of deciding to tear the team down and cutting the cancer out of the locker room and all those dead weight contracts, I understand that one could argue that needed.
That's a great point. It's a great point because Ryan Pace had left a mess. Like you said, there were bad influences in the locker room. There were bad influences even with Poles. And when you hire a rookie GM like Ryan Pace and Ryan Poles, we still don't know him. Yeah, some of his. To me, Ryan Pace he's batting 500.
Ryan Poles,
good, some good Ryan Poles. Yep. Ryan Poles batting 500 for me. Some good moves, some bad moves. The Chase Claypool trade, that was dumb. A second round pick. Well, the dude had no nothing left on his contract. We had a second round pick for 6 months of Chase Claypool. You know, I mean, there's questionable moves like that. And those are rookie GM mistakes. You know, and we have to it's the people above GM level and head coach level that are making the decisions to hire the guys below them that are making the football decisions. We haven't done well hiring these people who know what they're doing in the world of football, in the world of the NFL. You know, I mean, George McCaskey, he's not a football guy. They're businessmen. You know,
No, and
they're businessmen.
but I mean, and this is where I will never, I just will never be able to forgive the man for this because this has been my argument from the very beginning. The moment that you took the job as the Bears GM, and I understand you had to clean up a bunch of messes from the previous regime, but that organization, your goal at every moment, as long as you hold that title of GM for the Chicago Bears, your goal should be to improve and do what's best for the organization. Well, what is best for the organization is making sure that you take and maximize that investment that they just spent a year earlier, giving 2 first-round picks and a 4th to go acquire a quarterback. And even if that's not your guy, the moment you decide to take the check from the McCaskies and say, I am now going to operate as the GM of the Chicago Bears, my job is to make sure that I'm doing what's best for the organization. And what would be best for the organization is maximizing the already vested interest in Justin Fields and not telling the kid, hey, go fuck yourself. I'm going to put a team of neighbor kids around you and ask you to be that dude. And then when it doesn't work and you take all those sacks and you beat your body up and those legs get worn down, then in your 3rd year, I'm going to try to do right by you. And then I'm going to tell you, you have 1 year to prove it. And then I'm going to give the guy that didn't work with you.
His 3rd year.
It's fucking gross. And that's why I'm saying, like,
it is.
And look, man, if I'm the villain on the podcast, so be it. But that's why I've said the Bears are not a serious franchise. They're a dumpster fire. And until you prove me otherwise,
they might be the dumbest franchise in the NFL.
It's like people want to act like they're not the Jaguars or the Browns. I'm like, they haven't done jack shit in forever. And I'm sorry, 2018's I'm glad you made the wild card, and I'm glad that Nagy took it to the Saints, and in games that the Bears are unserious. And until you show me differently, and I understand somebody was like, well, we're done with Justin. Let's talk Caleb. We can talk Caleb. But the moment the Bears showed me that nothing's changed is the moment they brought back the coach with a 29% winning percentage. Like, it's the same old good boys. It always is. So I'm sorry.
It was an unpopular decision in the locker room, which is evidenced on X. All of his teammates, they weren't shy about putting out their feelings out there last night. They had Justin Jones. I forget who else was tweeting out there.
Well, DJ Moore said
DJ Moore was like business
for months that was his guy. Like, he goes on Mully and Hall every Monday and talks, and it seemed like because David Hall has been riding Caleb Williams nuts since September. So he's been all about, hey, DJ, we're probably going to get rid of your boy. How do you feel? They've been trying to prod him with that question the entire year. And so he's had people come out with his back. And Jordan, I don't know if I necessarily agree with keeping Eberflus because of his winning percentage. But when you talk about the locker room, and if KB can get his cousin on this offseason, we'll definitely talk to him about the way the locker room views Eberflus, because it seems like he's a popular guy in there. They like him. He's like he's telling dad jokes. He's got nicknames for all the players. They seem to like him, which whether we like him or not is irrelevant when it comes to the guys in that locker room who go to war with this man every single Sunday, sometimes Thursdays and sometimes Mondays. So
that's all great, but I'm not sure he's the guy to usher in the new era of quarterback in Chicago.
That doesn't matter what we think. I know. It matters what the GM thinks, the owners of the team, and all those people. But they have, and Jordan, if you'd like to talk about this, because when we were starting to I saw Poles making moves, making trades, trading for an offensive lineman, trading for a Keenan Allen. I was like, well, okay, is this helping build Justin, or is this creating a nest for insert said quarterback, seems to be Caleb Williams, to fall into without breaking the egg? Do you like the moves that the Bears have made this offseason to help Caleb Williams or whomever comes in? And let me just ask you, is Caleb Williams your number one quarterback?
No.
And if so, what? He's not?
Caleb Williams is not my number one quarterback. He's not far off, and this isn't a tear down of Caleb Williams. I have plenty of nice things to say about the guy. It's all about preference, and this is I know that sometimes you have draft classes, Andrew Luck, Trevor Lawrence, a few others, where you have like the very clear QB1.
Right.
And I know people have tried to build this class as that. That's not what it is for me. This is very similar to last year's class in the sense that you have a slew of quarterbacks that people are interested in, and it's the eye of the beholder. I have a lot of good things to say about Caleb. He's not my quarterback one. Insofar as your question, Aaron, about like what do I feel about the moves, I like almost every single one but the DeAndre Swift move. And the DeAndre Swift move's fine. It's not going to handicap the Bears in the future. I don't enjoy I don't necessarily love the player. I didn't like the process. I don't think this is the same shit. Like, oh man, you're the first team out the gate to sign Larry Ogunjobi. Larry Ogunjobi's a fine player. He's not worth the $60 million you want to throw his way. DeAndre Swift's a fine player. I don't think you need to be first out the gate for a running back that has gotten 1,000 yards, I believe, once in his career because he's often injured and he's played behind.
There's so many good running backs in this draft too.
But other than that, like I said, it's fine. He's a competent player. He should be a good presence. He'll fit, your offensive coordinator that wants multiple running backs. But that's the only signing I didn't love by the Bears so far.
Okay. So you
I like the Keenan Allen signing, man.
I mean, there's people in the chat saying, Waldron offense was worse than Getsy's last year. Waldron was able to make something out of Geno Smith in his year 33, which is why when they first hired him, I thought, well, maybe Justin stays. I didn't know what the plan was. And I felt like when I started seeing them trade away draft assets, and KB was even texting me about this. Unfortunately, he's unable to make it today. He's dealing with a personal issue. But he conspiracy theory KB, he was like, man, there's no way that they stick with number one. With 4 draft picks, that's what we're rolling with. That was his thing. But I didn't hate the Waldron hire. I mean, he's an offensive coordinator who's called plays before and had how many yards did Geno throw for? Did he throw for 4,000? Because even if he throws for 3,000 as a Bear, he's the leading Bears quarterback of all time. And we're the oldest franchise in the NFL. So to say that Waldron's offense wasn't as good as Getsy's, I don't know, Alan Payne. You look pretty high in your profile picture there. Maybe you were when you made this comment. I don't know. But
that's okay. We got a lot of Caleb slobbers in the chat. Caleb's not number one to your quarterback list? Oh my God. What do you know? It's just, it's fine. We got a lot of people.
95% chance of drafting Caleb Williams.
And for what it's worth, I think that's the case too.
There's that 5% that worries me though.
Right. My biggest concern, and Greg Gabriel's talked about this several times, is what happened at the Notre Dame game that seemed to have broke him. Because after the Notre Dame game, they go on to win one of the next 6 games, I think, and finish the season 7-5. They fall out of the national title halt. Then there's videos of him crying with his mother, which is fine with me. I mean, I played football and I cried after plenty of games where we got eliminated. It's a human emotion to failing, not reaching your goal, your ultimate goal. So I'm perfectly fine with that. The fingernail painting, people like to bring it up. I could care less one way or the other. To me, it's all about what's happening on the field, and what's happening on the field with Caleb Williams. The numbers say, yes, he puts up a lot of yards, but he also leads the NCAA in fumbles. He holds on to the ball for a long time. That's what the numbers say. So we're seeing, in my opinion, the same things that we ran Justin Fields out of town for, we're seeing in the quarterback we're drafting. But I have is optimism. All I have is hope. You
can't compare college to NFL, but I mean, look, Caleb Williams. I gotta admit, you gotta respect the arm. It's electric, And then he hangs in the pocket long, and he doesn't bail, man. He'll fight in the pocket.
Well, the one thing I do like about his arm, I remember watching Justin, and we've talked about it for years. The cock that he's got, well, don't pull that tooch, but the way he would have such a loopy delivery.
Yeah. And
Caleb has more of a slingshot delivery where it's going, it's shooting, which I do like that, and I'm a fan of that. He has the arm angles and the off-platform stuff that gets him compared to Patrick Mahomes. he has a little bit of athleticism, but I don't know how much that's gonna. I don't know how that's gonna look on Sundays because the athleticism needed in the Pac-12 as compared to the athleticism needed in the NFL are two different levels. I mean, I guess I'm fine with Caleb. Who's wearing number 13 though? Because we just traded for Keenan Allen.
I thought that Caleb Williams said he didn't want to wear 13 somewhere back in one of his tweets. I could be wrong, but it should go to the veteran. Caleb Williams hasn't proved anything. This question, man, it's not really a question of whether Poles would tie his career. We haven't really been about that on the show. For me, I've been about Justin Fields worth more to the team keeping him than a 6th-round conditional draft pick, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Quarterback is an injury atrophy position. Justin Fields has missed how many games in the pay? He's missed 3 games a year.
The entire NFL was like that last year.
Look at some of the quarterbacks who were starting it. If we're serious about making a playoff run, you could have both guys and Bagent, and protect yourself for a longer or deeper run. But and not only that, but if Fields does decent enough, you could sign and trade him, maybe get a little bit more than a 6th-round pick. But if he's out, we did the same thing to Mitch. We let Mitch walk, without signing his 5th-year option.
Mitch wasn't. I mean, I know the numbers may say otherwise, but I never got the same feeling from Mitch that I got from Justin, where I felt like there was always a chance. There was a chance he could throw a game-sealing interception as well, but I always felt like we had a chance to win with Justin. And maybe that was just my bias. I don't know, because I liked him in the draft and I wanted him to succeed. And maybe he'll still go to Pittsburgh and succeed. Remember, he's sitting behind Russell Wilson, who didn't have a great year last year. And if he plays more than 51% of their snaps, is what I heard, that's when that pick turns from a 6th-round pick to a 4th-round pick. So I don't know what they're going to do in Pittsburgh. I feel like they made a smart move, though. They brought in 2 veteran quarterbacks. They got rid of Kenny Pickett, who didn't seem to work. And if Mike Tomlin can't fix you, I mean, you're the problem. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we saw it with Claypool. We saw it with
Arthur Smith
AB.
is the OC there, right, Jordan?
Yep.
So, I mean, look.
He's going to have a good running game. He'll have a good defense. He'll have favorable options through play action to throw the ball.
You might see Justin on the goal line a few plays. Quarterback options for Pittsburgh. But, Desmond Ridder, Kenny Pickett, and Sam Howell all went for more than Fields, and that's just contract. Fields is out of contract, But I get that if we had kept Fields, it would have been a locker room issue,
That's what everyone said that's
fine. I don't know. Aren't these guys professionals?
I feel like if there's any locker room that can handle it, would be ours. But everyone on the radio, everyone in podcast land said there's no way they would be able to handle Caleb Williams and Justin Fields in the same locker room, on the same depth chart, fighting for the same position. Maybe they could have, maybe they couldn't have. We don't have to. I mean, we can't. We don't have to speculate about it anymore because Justin's gone, and we're going to move on to whether it's Caleb or Drake May or Jaden Daniels or wait for the second round to see if.
I tweeted that out. That would break Bears Twitter, man. Poles trades the number 1 pick, gets a few picks, takes like Dallas Turner, fucking Joe Alt, and in the second round comes back with Michael Penix. Oh, jeez.
I think Michael Penix has the prettiest ball in college football, but I know who Jordan's guy is. JJ, right? Is he?
Yeah, and I mean, as much as I like JJ McCarthy, and I like him for the Bears, I wouldn't wish the Bears on JJ McCarthy. And I understand the Bears have a good position now, but to me, and I want to be very clear, like there's been a lot of people in the chat going, Justin Fields had the shitty arm motion, he couldn't operate quick game, he threw game stealing. All of that is all true, despite everything I've said about hey, they failed the kid. I want to be very clear. I said this back. I mean, you fellas were on the show. I said it back after that, I believe, is the Tampa Bay game 2. I said, I'm out on Justin Fields. He'll be gone, and here we are. But I just want to be very clear on this because I'm not saying that Justin Fields doesn't have issues, flaws, things he needs to work on. Something I've been saying about Justin Fields is that he hasn't developed since he left Ohio State. And that's my entire point, which is that had they properly given him a good developmental track to work on, you wouldn't be talking about the kid that lacks confidence, that is too methodical. He would be a developed version of what he is. I
love JJ, man. I'm telling you, the kid's smart, man.
He got a national championship ring. I think
who liked Tom Brady coming out of Michigan? Nobody. He was a 6th-round pick.
Though.
Now he turned out to be the greatest of all time. I'm not saying JJ McCarthy is going to be the GOAT or anything, but nobody liked Tom Brady. You know, every team passed on him until the Patriots took him in the 6th round.
Yeah.
So I mean, to me, McCarthy's the smartest quarterback in this draft.
That's the biggest question with this thing is it's a crapshoot, and
you have
but the only saving grace is that we have first pick. You have the first choice. Everyone's on the board. Everyone is at your disposal from college football that is draft eligible. So it comes down to Ryan Poles, who is going to be your guy that you hitch your wagon to, whether that's Caleb Williams, whether that's Drake May, whether that's Jaden Daniels, or whether that's a trade down option, and you could still end up with a Marvin Harrison Jr. and maybe team him with someone. The possibilities are really endless. But I feel like a lot of podcasts have spent, and we've spent nearly a half hour now talking about the quarterback situation. This wasn't the only free agency move. Jordan, I know you said you didn't like the DeAndre Swift move, and I know you tweeted out right away.
I didn't either.
The fact that he got paid the same as Tony Pollard, you would have taken Pollard when you put them head to head. I
wouldn't have paid either of those guys that price, but I'm just saying, understanding that I have to give a contract out for 21 or 24 million, whatever it was for those 3 years. Picking one of those, I'd have picked Pollard. But again, I wouldn't have handed that deal out to either of them.
I mean, my favorite running back was Saquon, but I don't think they were in for the amount of guaranteed money that Saquon ended up with. And Touche, I know you said you like the draft class. I'm not a huge. I like Ray Davis late, but that's my Kentucky bias speaking.
I've been saying I love Jalen Wright, Tennessee back. To me, that's this year's Jahmyr Gibbs.
It's not even about that, though, fellas. And I understand you're going to tell. Here's the thing: you're going to tell me the Bears couldn't have possibly known. Your job as a GM is to predict what could happen. Yeah. You're not always going to be right, but to have forecast what could happen. You want Aaron Jones 1 year, $4 million, or you want DeAndre Swift? But Aaron Jones is always injured. Yeah, well, so does DeAndre Swift. Yeah, I mean, like this is what I'm saying. It's just you can. It's not a problem. It's not going to kill the Bears. And I understand there's a lot of fans that
it's a running back.
I mean,
you can get undrafted guys and plug them in. There's so many in this draft, man. You could get if Poles trades back, he gets a few picks in the 150s to 200s. You get guys like Carson Steele, maybe Audric Estime falls. Those guys are plotters, will pound it out, man. And you get a home run guy like Jalen Wright or one of what's the guy is Bucky Irving, and what's the guy his running back escapes me right now on USC. Fucking home run hitter, Marshawn Lloyd, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Jones saying Swift's a great receiver out of the backfield. Yes, Aaron Jones made a living off of catching balls out the backfield, including the Bears, and he was willing to do a revenge tour in the NFC North for the Vikings. Yeah. And the reason that you couldn't make the move is because you were so quick to run up the fucking card the moment that the tampering window opened to say DeAndre Swift's our guy. It's not the end of the world, but have some patience. Haste makes waste, and in this case, it's one man's perspective. But DeAndre Swift's the only guy, and it's not an F. It's just not what I would have done.
Yeah.
Ryan Bates was good.
I was fine with Swift. I do love Aaron Jones. He seemed to always go off on the Bears.
Swift will make plays.
The injuries and the age are starting to become a question. I think that's why Green Bay let him walk. They go with Josh Jacobs, who, in my opinion,
a more complete back.
Not as good a running back as Aaron Jones.
No, but I found him to be more complete. Like he can do it all, as opposed to.
Oh yeah, I love Josh Jacobs. Yep.
Yeah, Aaron Jones has a very singular skill set, which is, but based on what they pulled from a DeAndre Swift, fits more of what they're looking for. Like, let me give you the issue with Josh Jacobs. I love Josh Jacobs.
We don't have a home run hitter. I mean, Khalil Herbert maybe. I guess he breaks
Swift is your home run hitter.
Yeah, Herbert.
Swift is your home run hitter.
Yeah, I guess.
But yeah, I mean, other than that, and I don't mean to harp on that. Like the Ryan Bates move is solid. It got ahead of a expensive guard market. You weren't going to get a guard for cheap, relatively speaking.
Yep.
Keenan
What
Allen
about
trade was incredibly.
what about the center? I know nothing about Coleman Shelton.
Oh, Coleman Shelton's good. I mean, I'm not. Let me back up. I'm not telling you good like he's a pro because people run with that shit and think he's a top 5 center. I think that it's competent competition. He's a guy that has extreme experience setting protections for a complicated, similar offense for McVay. He was calling protections. He took a job from Brian Allen. Brian Allen was a person that everybody wanted here in Chicago. Another person. Yeah. So he's a good player, but he lacks strength in his anchor and pass protection. He was a late round pick because of the diminutive strength in his frame. But he's exceptionally quick on the move. He understands field geometry and can get to the angles in that zone blocking scheme. Yeah. But there's a reason why he, got the contract that he did, why he was available, why the Rams didn't continue to. I mean, look at it this way: the Rams decided they would move Steven Avila from left guard to center and let Coleman Shelton walk. That's again, that's not. I'm not trying to damn Coleman Shelton, but don't think he's the second coming of Olin Kreutz. But he's a decent player.
He'll compete with Bates and Kramer for that job, right?
Yeah. I mean, PZ's asking competition for whom? I mean, it'll be Bates, it'll be Kramer, and we'll see if they. I mean, the reality is they don't have a lot of draft picks at the moment. They'll probably trade down. I have no question Ryan Poles knows how to create picks.
99% chance he trades back with 9, 75, 122. I would say he trades all 3 of those back, unless someone like Dallas Turner's there at 9, and I don't know.
But I'll be the first to say I don't see him pairing a rookie center with a rookie quarterback. I think what you're seeing here is a definitive desire to have guys that have been in the league, that are good dudes, that understand the scheme, that can fit it, that have experience setting protection, to take some off of Caleb Williams, presumably.
And there's one center in this draft that everybody loves, could be a top 15 pick, but at this point, it's not. I mean, it's not in the cards for the Bears to get JPJ.
I think he's a Pittsburgh Steeler as well. I think he'll be over there. They have the 20th overall pick, and they definitely have a need there. And they have been at all of his pro days. They were there with him at the combine. I think they're really in on him, and they're not being shy about letting everyone know they are in on him. I don't know. Maybe the Bears trade back at 9, and depending on how the draft falls. I mean, I like Roma Dunze a lot, but they just traded for Keenan Allen. So are they going to draft a wide receiver?
Wide receiver is deep in this draft too. There's lots. I would love to get a guy late, maybe at 122, or in a trade back from 75, like Ricky Pearsall. A guy like that would do on third down. A guy that just gets open, great hands, a little shifty. Someone like that on the slot receiver. Because I mean, guys like Wes Welker and Julian Edelman made it. They were playing in the NFL for a long time at that position.
Are you talking about Ladd McConkey from Georgia? Is that because that's the guy? I mean, he tore Kentucky up for like 2 years now.
Yeah, someone like him. I don't think the Bears have the draft capital to get McConkey. But Ricky Pearsall, man, would be an awesome pick.
He catches everything. I like
catches everything. He's always open.
Yeah, he was a guy that, and granted, I'm looking off one game because I see him against Kentucky, and then I'm moving on. But he's a guy that was always open, and a guy that Anthony.
Does Jordan know who we're talking about?
Just throw it up.
Yeah, no, I know who you both are talking about. I don't personally think that Pearsall is making it to the third. He could, but I think that Pearsall's rising. Pearsall's a good player. People know he's a good player, which is why he's not going to drop that far.
I know.
I mean, again, if
it's
you're
a pipe dream, but
receivers, I'm looking at like Anais Smith, Texas A&M.
Yeah, great pick too. Does everything, kick returns. Swing passes, out line up in the backfield.
Yeah, like I said, you got
Texas A&M.
You got the Janke brothers from South Dakota State, receivers. Like I said, you got Malik Washington, Virginia. So there's a few. I like Joshua Cephas from UTSA.
Yeah, UTSA, good player. He's got some height to him though.
Yeah, different body type, but I mean, there's options there. But the only reason I was saying
Jacob Cowing, another guy, a little slot receiver, got some speed.
Yeah,
what about a guy like Roman Wilson? If you want that Tariq Hill type stretch the field,
I think he's a second or third himself.
Yeah, as usual, the Bears have a ton of holes and not enough picks.
I see Michael's been saying this.
Luke McCaffrey's a Rice. He's like a 6'2". He's more of an X, though, I think, right? Good player.
I see Michael H. continuing to say, like, take Brendan Rice because presumably he's the the closest thing that Caleb Williams will be familiar with. For what it's worth, I really like Brendan Rice. I know
So do I.
The most. I would, if you're taking a middle round swing on a wide receiver, I'd take that X archetype more than the slot guy. I think slot guys are easier to find.
Yep.
You can kind of find one that's shifty enough to make plays, but to get a real X ball winner on the outside is what I'd be willing to take the chance on. And of course, everybody's saying pair Caleb with Rice. It makes sense, but Xavier Leggett's another. Look, I love it. I get it. I'm just like, there's no second round pick.
We have 4 picks with no second round pick. Yep.
Well, I think we end up trading one of those top 10 picks to end up getting a second round pick in return in other drafts. There's no way that Ryan Poles feels comfortable going into the draft with 4 draft picks and coming out with 4 draft picks. There's no way he's doing that.
Nope.
And the best way to do that and get good compensation, I feel, obviously you could trade the number 1 and get a haul, obviously.
Yep.
But
he's not.
He wants
because he'd be crucified.
Absolutely. He wants his quarterback. He grabs him at 1. Yep. And then at 9, he trades back, maybe grabs a Jared Verse, and then picks up a second round pick to grab one of these wide receivers.
Well, Jared Verse or Dallas Turner.
Well, I know Jordan loves some Jared Verse. He's got it.
Jared Verse,
I believe he's your top edge, right?
Yeah, Jared Verse would have been the guy I would have selected months ago. For what it's worth, I mean, and I split him because Jared Verse can play in a 3-4, but I think he'd be better in an even front as a 4-3 D end, which is why I think he fits the Bears more than Dallas Turner. All things equal, I'd probably take Dallas Turner as the best edge because of the potential. This is the same thing with JPJ. For what it's worth, like Jackson, I know it's a little side note, but like Jackson Powers Johnson is not my top center. He's not. But I, as far as if we're talking about projection, who is
the top center?
Highest ceiling to me is, highest center for me is Graham Barton from Duke.
Right?
Yeah, and I mean we'll see. He's played a few.
He'd play all 5 positions on the line.
Yeah, I mean there's value to that. After that, it'd be Zach Frazier, and then I get to
Zach Frazier's pretty good. Yep.
And so, I mean, like I said, it's Jackson Powers Johnson has the highest potential out of all those guys, which is why
there's some decent setters in this draft, though, man.
That's why Jackson Powers Johnson will go early.
The guy from Penn State, Arkansas, and Wisconsin all had good centers. Look, we get the idea. I mean, Pole's going to take a swing and take Caleb Williams because this is a franchise-changing pick if it works out. If it doesn't, you know what?
I mean, I'll tell you what, my biggest
lineup career, but
my biggest gripe with Caleb Williams was, and I got to be honest, and this is where I'm telling you, I have a lot of good things to say about the kid. He shut me up and did a very good job with what I thought he handled a lot of, I don't want to say adversity, but challenging situations at the combine. Mm-hmm. My biggest concern with Caleb Williams is how does a kid like that walk into the harshest media market in the NFL where immediate expectations are there? And the moment that you don't perform well, I mean, goddamn, quarterbacks in training camp get criticized because he threw 3 incompletions today. So I'm like, how does that kid deal with it? And I think I'll give him credit. He answered a lot of my questions with some of the questions that were lobbed at him at the combine, to the way that he answered, the way he held himself. So I feel more confident about that now than ever, and I'm sure that the Bears staff does as well. But that's really, I mean, I can nitpick the size. I wish he was a little taller. I wish he was a little faster. I wish he played on time a little more. I actually don't have as many concerns with him being able to get to where he needs to be with that, depending on the developmental track. I think every situation matters. But with respect to my biggest concerns with him, it's just how the character deals with the mass media market of Chicago. And we're going to see what that looks like.
Sorry, I didn't realize I was muted. A lot of people said they liked what they heard from Caleb Williams at the combine, taking on the questions. Maybe it's just me, but he came off as a prima donna to me when he said, why am I going to work out or why am I going to give medicals to everybody when not everybody can draft me? Then he pushes back his meeting with the Bears because of his pro day that's going to happen. And a lot of it is just coming off as he thinks he's already done things he hasn't done. He hasn't earned the right to say, I'm not going to work out for you. He hasn't, in my opinion, he hasn't earned that. Sure, there's a lot of quarterbacks every year that go to the combine and don't throw. That's fine. Everyone does that now. They wait for their pro day. But to say you're not gonna have your medicals done, that was another part of this whole thing. What's taking them so long to trade away Justin is they never got the medicals for Caleb because Caleb pushed everything back. And like I said, to me, he's acting as though he's already won a Super Bowl or several Super Bowls. I mean, he's going about his business as if he's already Peyton Manning, and it rubs me the wrong way. Some people may love it. I mean, there's guys in the chat that are saying they love the attitude.
Yeah.
I can't fucking stand it. And if he
which is why ACF told you this wouldn't be my selection at quarterback for the Chicago Bears, but I also will never begrudge somebody. You would look stupid to not take Caleb Williams if he looks great somewhere else. So I get it. It's the bed you got to make and the bed you got to lay in. But for those same reasons, like I said, I think it's athletic arrogance. I think it's confidence. I'm okay with it. But to the point of it's that stuff mixed with the father concerns, mixed with playing on time, mixed with the fumbles, mixed with the size. Where, like I said, it's just for what it's clear. Drake May's my QB1, Caleb Williams QB2, JJ McCarthy 3, Jaden Daniels 4, Penix 5, Nick 6. I can go down the list, but that's how it sits. So it's not. And it's very close between a May and a Williams. It's not far off. But the thing that I've always said with like Drake May, and I know Drake May is now the worst quarterback in draft media. Brett Rippon will be a star. Yes. Drake May is now, I don't know if you guys know, Drake May is like a 3rd round pick now all of a sudden. And I think it's all smoke screens, but it's funny because Drake May represents is I know what that guy looks like, how he projects. I'm guaranteed with Drake May and he'll have frustrating games for sure. But I know every single game day, every single Sunday, Monday, or Thursday, if Drake May is my quarterback, I'm going to have one of the most exciting quarterbacks to play the game because the guys that look like him do that shit. That's Justin Herbert. That's Josh Allen. I mean, you Patrick Mahomes in some respect, but he's a little bigger than Patrick Mahomes. That's the type of play you get. Caleb Williams absolutely has some Aaron Rodgers to him. He has some Patrick Mahomes to him. He has some Justin Fields to him. He has a bit of everything, but I also think you can rein that in. But for me, that's the guy I'd be selecting if I was the Bears. But I also understand that, Caleb Williams you'd look like a fool if Caleb Williams went to anywhere else and popped off. So
yeah, we've already got some egg on our face from not taking CJ Stroud last year. I don't see them doing that again. I think that even last year when he made the trade, they were eyeballing Caleb Williams. I mean, this is and that's where I think some of the arrogance comes from. Is this guy has been the incumbent number 1 pick for 2 years now, maybe 3. Ever since he stepped on the field at Oklahoma, he looked like, oh wow, when's this guy draft eligible? I remember saying that as I was watching the Red River Shootout or whatever they're calling it now. But I just. I don't know. Maybe I'm dead wrong, and maybe I'm in the minority, but it just rubbed me as too big, as we say around here, too big for your britches. I don't know.
You weren't Zach Wilson, were you?
Oh no, let me be very clear. And I see because Shorty, I keep sucking that Chicago Bears dick, my guy. But I mean, with that being said, like Zach Wilson was my quarterback 1, and I've learned from that. The reality is, I saw a kid, and that 21 class is looking extra good right now. And it seems like everybody had their evaluations really solid on that 21 class. But Zach Wilson was a guy that I saw making a lot of plays, and it was exciting. And looking back, what I learned from that, and this is a little bit of Caleb and a few others, is he worked behind exceptional pockets at BYU, and they had a COVID schedule where they made the schedule playing against inferior competition. And so he made a lot of plays behind inferior defensive lines, and he often ran out of those clean pockets to make exceptional plays outside of the pocket and couldn't operate in structure. And there's a reason why Jaden Daniels, to me, has a lot of that. His offensive line was exceptional. He was playing with 2 all-stars outside. He looks to run the first moment he gets pressure. That's a player, for example, Jaden Daniels gets talked about as number 2 overall, and I'm going, I wouldn't take him. As much as I'm high on JJ McCarthy, let me be clear on this too. And he's going to go before 20. I wouldn't take him before 20. If we're being fair to true value, I understand quarterbacks get bumped, which is why he's going to go top 10. But JJ McCarthy is the 20th to 30th best player in this class, just as I would put Jaden Daniels around that same range. But they're going to end up going top 10. And if I had to, we'll see how I do. But if I have to take my bet, I think Jaden Daniels is going to end up being the guy that I would not want to walk away with. I think you're going to have more success with JJ McCarthy, Drake May, and Caleb Williams out of this top 4.
I guess it's my SEC bias. I like Jaden Daniels quite a bit. I mean,
he's reportedly a very hard worker. I mean, Brian Kelly had to change his rules around the team because the kid was coming in earlier than everybody and leaving later, watching film, worked harder than anybody on the team. And
I don't doubt any of that. I'm just like
NFL people love that.
But Jordan makes a good point. He was surrounded by an all-star team. So and he was playing the best competition, in my opinion. You might have
no.
Big
I mean,
Ten
let's be clear.
fans,
He
might
ran
have
all over
Pac-12 fans.
Alabama. He ran all over Nick Saban's Alabama defense when Nick Saban and Alabama understood that they needed to stop him running. So he's a good talent. I'm not trying to take that away from him, but I didn't see a mature passer. I saw a guy that was given. I mean, and it's awesome. I'm not grieving the guy for this, but it must be nice to just go on this play. I just have to throw it to the 20 because I know my guy is faster than the DB. He'll make it to the 20. I know that Brian Thomas is bigger and taller than that guy over there, so I'm just going to drop it there. My offensive line has studs. I'm not getting a ton of pressure. And like I said,
his size could be an issue in the league.
Yeah.
He starts taking those hits.
And his arm's not exceptional. He has a good arm. He makes good throws. But never have you seen that the ball goes 75 yards. You've not seen him drive the ball with velocity 40 yards down the seam. It's a lot of, those looping moon balls on the slot fades to the back pylon. They're beautiful, but it's a different type of game.
The Bears obviously have two glaring holes right now, an edge opposite Montez Sweat, and the trade of Justin Fields opens up a quarterback spot unless you think Tyson Bagent is the answer for the foreseeable future. I know a lot of people do. But the pick he can't go any other way. He's going Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
9 is the question.
9
overall. 9 overall is the question. He has to either take Jared Verse or Dallas Turner or trade back and take one of those guys, or maybe he goes with another receiver. I don't know.
I'm definitely.
It'll be edge or receiver
back. There. I don't see how he. I don't see how he leaves. Takes 2 in the first round, and then we got 1 in the third, and then 1 in the. We don't have a.
I'll post them up there. Hold on a second. I'll post it in the chat. Hold on.
Well, Illinois Jones says Big Twin's the best. That's why they won the Natty. I mean, 1 out of 10. Way to go, bud. SEC has ran the roost for a decade. And if you want to talk a little college football just for a second while Tuch looks these things up, I'm really excited for this 12-team playoff that's going in. I think it gives a lot more teams a chance, and those teams that got left out in the past. Hell, we saw it this year with Florida State and Georgia. When they got knocked out, everyone was like, well, they deserve to be there. Well, they'll have their chance this year, as well as other teams that maybe didn't. I think that makes for fun. So we have our picks.
Yeah, 1-9, 75, 122.
I just don't see him sitting on his hands from 9 to 75. I don't see it happening. There's
100%.
No. Well, we're going to see what happens in April, but I think the best thing, if you're a Bears fan, that you could hope Ryan pulls to do is you're hoping that someone between the Saints, the Raiders, the Broncos decide to move up to try to beat those other teams. If you're the Raiders, you're trying to beat the Broncos and the Saints. You're trying to, and because the idea is if I can just move back 2 or 3 picks for a team that wants a quarterback, I understand they're going to pay for a quarterback, so I can overcharge them for that. Pull the second round pick. And then I'm still only 2 or 3 spots behind. So the chances of those quarterbacks going and a guy like Jared Verse still being there at 12 or 13, that's the best that you can hope for. But understanding that you're ending up playing a game where if you move from 9 to let's say 15, there's a chance that teams in that range end up going with a defensive end. And the reality is, as somebody said, Byron Murphy'd be a great pick. I like Byron Murphy. I think Byron Murphy's awesome in a lot of ways.
But top 10?
Yeah, I wouldn't pick him top 10. And that's where you're in a tough spot. I really like Jared Verse. Jared Verse is awesome. And that's where at some point, if you pick him at 9, if you pick him at 18, if he's a good player, you don't really care where he was selected. So take the player that you think is good. I think Jared Verse would be a fine player at 9. But even I would admit that's a bit rich. But again, you want to take Jared Verse at 9, who's a good player, and maybe it's a little rich, or do you want to miss on Jared Verse and take Latu at 20? And if Latu ends up not passing your medicals or gets hurt, that's what I'm saying. It doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, if you get a player that's good, nobody cares if you took him 1st, 5th, 12th. It's fine.
Let's take a look at last year, what happened with the Texans, because they drafted C.J. Stroud. Then they traded back in to the first round to take Will Allen. Will Allen was Defensive Rookie of the Year. Will Allen. Will Anderson was Defensive Rookie of the Year. And C.J. Stroud was Offensive Rookie of the Year. We could easily do the same thing with the Bears to take Caleb Williams, Offensive Rookie of the Year. And then Jared Verse,
defensive rookie of the year.
Defensive rookie of the year is your first 2 picks. You know what? You're looking pretty good after that. I'll tell you that. And then 75. Let's say they take a receiver. I wouldn't, but I mean, they're probably going to try and do what the Texans did and get those 2 offensive and defensive rookies. Really set the tone for.
If we could find a Tank Dell in the middle of the draft, that'd be a fucking steal.
There's plenty of receivers. There's a lot of receivers. But number 9, he could trade back. I don't know if somebody like the Raiders is going to want it to. Those quarterbacks are going to fall. The Raiders and Vikings just made a move up.
Yeah, no, the Vikings.
They're looking for a quarterback.
They can look. They're not looking at 9. There's no. I'm not doing it. I'm not going to do it. So quit asking.
It's not even that. They're not going to go to 9. They have 11. They're going up to 5 or 4. They're not playing. No, they're going up high. It's for Drake May or JJ McCarthy.
Yep.
Those will be the 2 players.
Jordan, of the teams you mentioned, I'm calling the Saints because the Saints have a history of making dumb trades where they give up too much to move up to go get someone that they did it with Olave. They've done it.
The only issue I'd have with that is that the Saints refuse to rebuild. They refuse to reset. And so they are all gas all the time. And they view Derek Carr's not at the end of the road. He's, on the older side, and maybe he'll be there. But they look at, as long as we've got Derek Carr, we're competing. I don't need a quarterback. They don't live for the future. They live right now. How much can we max the credit card? So I don't know how much the Saints will do that. I think your best bet would be to try to lure either, and it's tough with the Raiders. The Raiders do need somebody, but I think that they like Jaden Daniels. I'm not sure how much they'd like a Penix or a Nix, but I think that if you can try to get the one team that's really desperate, that really has nothing right now, is the Denver Broncos. They have Jarrett Stidham, and I think that's it.
Do they have the trade capital, though? Because they traded a ton for Russ last year.
Yeah, they don't. I don't think they have a second. But, I mean, again, sometimes it's not just a 1-for-1. Like, can I get a second for the move back? It's, can I get, your 3rd and your 4th? Then I'm going to package that 3rd and the 4th with the 4th I got, from, this trade. And then I'm putting them together and I'm moving up to the 2nd. Like, you move the board. But I think, to me, that would be the move. You're moving back 3 spots for a team that has to get a quarterback. They have Jarrett Stidham. And at that point, it depends on who's there. Maybe McCarthy's there. Maybe Nix is there. And you see somebody like Sean Payton move up for Bo Nix.
I got a couple questions. For Jordan, let's say the Bears do trade 9. Jared Verse not going to be there after what?
I'm sorry, say that again?
If the Bears trade out of 9, what's the farthest back we could go and still land Jared Verse?
I would say 12, 13.
Which would be Broncos.
Yeah, which would be Broncos. I mean, because I'd have to look at the draft order, but you're worrying about guys like the Saints where Cam Jordan's getting older and they're just trying to push the gas pedal down. You're worrying about, and this is much later, but teams like the Rams that desperately need edge help. Teams like the Steelers are fine. They have Highsmith and Watt, but, they always look to add defense. So it's some of those teams, and that's where I'm saying at some point, you're going to have a team that goes, we need edge, and you don't want to push yourself out of that range.
Right, exactly. He did not sign one of the big edges. All those guys are pretty much gone. So I want to talk about, we shouldn't be too surprised that the Bears moved on from Justin Fields. If you look at what happened to guys like Trey Lance, and it looks like the Jets will be moving on from Zach Wilson. Guys,
that QB1 class, or that 21 QB class looking real good.
But teams teams are not shy about moving on from guys they picked high because at quarterback, if it doesn't work out in the first 3 years. The Bears are no exception in this case. And then there was another comment I saw in the here it is. So I could see this happening just because the Bears are averse to ever appearing on Hard Knocks. Yeah. Bears ownership does not ever want to do it if they can, help it. I'm hesitant. Would I love to see it? Sure. I don't think the locker room's going to like it when they just traded Justin Fields away. There's like rookie diva quarterback coming in who, hasn't proven anything. Would it make for great TV? Sure. Would it make for a little locker room unhappiness? I think so.
I don't know. I feel like this locker room that they've put together, they've brought in guys first and foremost because they like their the person. It wasn't. I mean, yes, obviously they have ability to play, but when you're bringing in guys like an Andrew Billings, DeMarcus Walker, DJ Moore, on the offensive line, guys like Nate Davis, at the safety position, the safety they signed Kevin Byard, or is it Byard? But they're bringing in guys that not only are good on the field but off the field, and I feel like we have the correct locker room, the correct chemistry in the locker room to bring in a rookie quarterback and allow him to thrive and get better with each day. I am in the camp where I believe Caleb Williams needs to be a little humbled, but I think that we have a
putting him on Hard Knocks got going to help there.
Yeah, he'll be a star.
I've made a joke that like the McCaskies have they know where the dead bodies are buried at the NFL headquarters because whatever, it doesn't matter. Somehow they are 100%. Always. Yeah, so I mean, we'll see. I don't ever think they'll be in Hard Knocks, but it's weird to me because I think that any team, the NFL, it's in the NFL's best interest to show a team in a positive light. And I've never seen a Hard Knocks where the team doesn't come out looking more positive. So it's curious to me.
Even the Jets looked freaking good last year.
That's what I'm saying. Like it's amazing to me that the Bears are so averse to doing it.
I think it's mostly because of that 19-20 drives that they have where they can control the narrative of what's put out and what's seen by people. Whereas Hard Knocks, they control. I'm sure they check with them.
No, absolutely. But it's like the NFL is not going to paint you in a bad light.
Right.
They don't want to diminish their own brand. So give them a chance. Trust that they're going to do the right thing. You have an interesting storyline. But as I say, I just don't think it'll happen. They found a way to squirm out of being on Hard Knocks or any media obligation on almost every single turn.
Well, they're going to London this year, so they may have that on their side. They're saying, well, you guys are taking away a home game from us already. Yeah. We don't really want to play by your game. KB was in the chat. I told him, hey, man, you got the link if you want to hop in. So he said he was on his way.
I got to get going soon, so if he hops in, he can take my spot.
That'd be great.
Tap you in. Tap him in.
I will say there's nearly 500 people viewing right now. If you guys could get those likes up, we'd greatly appreciate it. Share it with your friends. It helps with our algorithm.
They're just here to see Network. Jordan.
Yeah, I'm the villain, man.
They like that. They like that acid chemistry.
Right. Whatever gets them in the door, man. I just want to see them hit the like before they leave.
Let's talk a little bit about the free agent acquisition. Kevin Byard. Jordan, what do you think?
No, Kevin Byard's awesome. I mean, you're not losing the instinctiveness and the takeaway skills that Eddie Jackson had. That was one of the best things about Eddie Jackson in his prime. Kevin Byard was racing with Eddie Jackson, and that's those same departments as far as instinctive ball hawk nature. He's on the older side. He doesn't have the range that Eddie Jackson, and that was one of the things. Eddie Jackson, that was supreme about him. He had range. He could play as true center fielder and get from one post to the other. That's not Byard, but Byard isn't a slow guy. Veteran leader, has instincts to find the ball. Don't think that he's going to be some, issue in the back end that you're going to be able to expose. And the money's fine. I mean, you saw don't get me wrong, I'd probably prefer like an Xavier McKinney, but you just watched the Packers blow like $19 million on him a year. So something that I think Brian Pohl should be credited for time and time again is you don't often see him overpay. It happens occasionally. Like I thought Ogunjobi was an overpay. That didn't work out. Swift's fine. I mean, that's going rate for running backs. You saw it with like guys like Tony Pollard. So the thing about him is he's always pretty savvy in getting those deals out ahead of time. And to me, Byard at the price that he is a fine player.
Yeah, I like Byard a lot too. I mean, I saw him in Tennessee when he was he was an all-pro level safety, taking the ball away. And I believe it was Mike Mularkey speaking on Kevin Byard, and he said, "Look, this was before the trade for Justin happened or trade away of Justin." He said, "I don't know what you've got at quarterback on the offensive side of the ball, but you just brought in your quarterback on the defensive side of the ball." I'll be honest, when we first made this trade, I was in the private chat of the bar room, and I was a little upset that because I thought we would go younger. I thought that was the main idea was, okay, if we're getting rid of Eddie, we're going to go with a younger guy. And Kevin Byard is the same age as Eddie, so you didn't get any younger. But the difference is, and Aldo pointed this out, the tackling rate percentage for Kevin Byard is leaps and bounds above Eddie Jackson. I know that's something that Neil Stopchinski really had an issue with Eddie Jackson last year. I mean, he was ready to cut him after a couple of games. He was on the people that were on the get rid of Justin after game 2. I think Neil Stopchinski's been on that with Eddie Jackson since he switched his number. But
I'm with him too.
At the Pee Wee level of football, first thing they tell you to do, they teach you how to tackle. They teach you how to hold the ball. I mean, it's two things: offense, learn how to keep a hold of the ball; defense, learn how to tackle, learn how to wrap up, see what you hit. And that was the biggest issue with Eddie Jackson is didn't tackle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. And I hate to see him go. I've got the number 39 jersey hanging up in my closet. I'm gonna have to go get some new jerseys this year, fellas. I got Fields. I got.
This is why I don't buy jerseys.
I've got Darnell Mooney, who, by the way, we didn't even touch on Darnell Mooney, who signs with Atlanta for a 3-year, $39 million deal. I'm really happy for him to go down there and be a part of all the weapons that they're putting together, namely Kirk Cousins, who they paid $100 million guaranteed to.
$100 million guaranteed for QB competency and a ceiling of like a B+ quarterback. I sincerely wish them the best. KB.
Well, speaking of $100 million quarterbacks, my man KB coming in out of nowhere. I would pay this man every dime I had if I could to be my running mate, my quarterback. Oh, captain, my captain. Speak for a second on your final closing thoughts on Justin Fields, and then we kind of went into some free agency stuff. Or Tooch, do you got to head out?
I got to tap out. I'm going to tap in KB, but I got to say hi to my guy. I love my KB.
Boy, Tooch.
It's good to see you. Fellas, it's been a pleasure. I will talk to you soon.
All right, brother. Have a good weekend, man.
Thanks. Yep.
So, man. Happy St. Patrick's Day, first of all, KB.
I know, right?
How you doing, and how are you feeling after the Justin Fields news came down?
All right. First of all, I want hate that I was late getting on. Just had some stuff pop up and need to be handled, and it didn't run as long as I thought it was going to be. So pretty happy with that. Second off, Justin Fields thing. I've said for a while I saw trading the first pick as being the best way to help build the team. I think adding more picks in a draft like this, especially that to me seems so talent rich in that first 100 picks. I felt like trying to get more, picks for that would be the best thing to do. Adding pieces around this team, and then you see how the team is starting to be constructed. It's starting to look very phenomenal. I haven't been as excited to see an offense since we had Alshon Jeffrey, Marshall, Martellus Bennett, and Forte. So I'm excited to see that. I've been very high on Keenan Allen for years. I've always said Keenan Allen was in the same vein as a Mike Evans. They're both like massively underrated. Massively underrated. I think Keenan Allen is probably one of the top 3 wide receivers for route running. I don't think you can really point to anybody and you can say they can outrun him in routes. So I love the get. Hate that he's 32 years old now. He is a little injury riddled, but I mean he's been going for almost a decade. So now the big thing, Justin Fields. I still maintain my stance on saying that you have to do what's best for the team. If Ryan Poles says that trading Justin Fields is what was best for the team, especially at this juncture, then I had no choice but to agree with what he was saying and go with it. I said I'm not going to put one player above this team. If Caleb Williams is the route that we're going, which is is probably about 95% of what we're leaning toward, then all right, cool. I also stand on my business by saying I feel like this is the year we're supposed to be challenging for playoffs. Yeah. This is the year that we're supposed to be pushing to win a division. You've seen that you beat Detroit last year twice. I mean, almost twice. Still haven't been able to beat Green Bay, whatever the case may be. The Vikings are floundering. They don't even have a quarterback yet. it's going to be always a thing you can say it's unfair to say. Caleb Williams isn't going to get a pass for his rookie year. The entire city of Chicago is not going to get him a pass for being a rookie. You have been highly touted, and people have said you are the best thing since Andrew Luck to come out. You have to, and you see folks literally putting up graphics saying that if the Bears draft him, he'll be the 5th best quarterback already in the NFC. So I'm sorry, dog, but I feel like what I feel. I hope the kid does everything he's supposed to. I hope he lives up to everything that they said, because at the point I'm at, I was looking playoffs for this year, and that was for whoever was under center.
Yeah.
So if we fall short of that, then it is what it is. For what they got for Fields, not crazy. I mean, it's crazy to me. I wouldn't trade him for no damn 6th pick. You already know Buddy not finna play. So you traded him for a 6th pick next year. You didn't even get capital for this year. So
yeah,
if this was truly about doing what was best for him, I mean, that's fine. The Steelers probably were the best team for him to go to. Him being able to sit behind Russell Wilson for a year to learn whatever offense that Arthur Smith is putting in is going to help Fields. He's only going to be 26 next year. He still has the height of his NFL career to go through. As far as my personal feelings, I was a little hurt. Hurt. You know that me and your first game that we went to was the starting game. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It was a shit show. Absolute shit show.
9 sacks.
Yeah, absolute shit show. But I can still say, we went and we got to see his first start. You know what I'm saying? And that meant a lot to me. I felt like that kid had a high ceiling that we got nowhere close to even touching. But like I said, I'm not going to sit here and I'm not going to cry for spilled milk. If he's gone now, I hope the best for him with the Steelers, and I hope he makes everybody who says that he wasn't a quarterback look bad. That's my true feelings. Moving forward, like I said, I've always felt that Caleb was cocky. I felt like he has been highly, highly overrated. But at the point we're at, he's more likely going to be our quarterback. So it is what it is, man. I'm going to be happy when we get him. Hopefully he does everything he's supposed to do. But like I said, this year, the roster is built for playoffs. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah. Yeah. You gave me a lot to unpack there. First and foremost, I love what you said about Keenan Allen's route running ability. Chad Johnson and who was it podcast with? Anyway, when Chad Johnson was on a Chad Ochocinco was on a podcast talking about his understanding of coverages, whether it's zone or man, he can beat you. I mean, the guy's just always open. He gets open and he seems to catch everything, which would help us with a rookie quarterback coming into the NFL. Having a veteran, both receivers are veterans who catch everything and do a lot of good things with the ball in their hands. We brought in Gerald Everett, who I liked a lot. He hasn't really lived up to what I thought he would be thus far in the NFL, but he doesn't have to be the man here. He's a tight end 2. Cole Kmet is clearly your tight end 1. And what you said about Caleb, I mean, we're after seeing what CJ Stroud did last year in this league, fans are not going to give him a pass as the first round pick, as a rookie quarterback with this team that won 7 games last year and had 3 other losses that were double-digit fourth quarter leads. So that should be the expectation is playoffs. If we fall short, as you said, and as I'm saying, they're not going to say, well, we had a rookie quarterback. And they might say that, but it's going to be like, I mean, those would be the same people who never gave Justin a pass, though, in my opinion. Those would be the same people that have never believed in him, never thought he would be a good quarterback, or still don't think he's a quarterback. They think he's a weapon. He should be used in the Taysom Hill role or something to that effect. And he says, calling Caleb overrated is a wild statement. This is a guy who won this. He won the Heisman 2 years ago, took USC to an 11-win season, and then followed that up with a 7-win season with 5 losses, with several games where he could have won and made a statement, wasn't able to do it.
This is why I'm saying overrated. When somebody has not thrown a pass yet, and you're saying that he's going to be the 5th best quarterback in the NFC his rookie year,
so crazy.
That shit is crazy. I do not have any hate towards the kid. I've said before, I wasn't a big fan. I don't like the system he came out of.
Yeah.
So we're sitting there talking about it's wild to call over. No, it's not. Is what the problem is especially Bears fans, y'all are talking him up to be an Adonis. Y'all want him to be this mythical creature that is going to come in and is going to just light people up. No, that's not what the fuck is going to happen. And I really wish people would get off of this. That's what's going to happen.
We need to find something in the middle. It's so often in the NFL. Right. Often in the NFL, you're either great or you're trash. There's no in between. And Illinois Jones makes a good point. USC's defense giving up 38 points per game made Caleb feel like he had to play hero ball. He had to hold on to the ball and hunt for those deep balls and do things like that to score enough points to win enough games. But to say that he's already the 5th best quarterback in the NFC is wildly insane. There has to be something in the middle. And
it's just crazy to me. And everybody's sitting there saying that we're hating. I'm sorry, y'all need to get the dicks out y'all mouth from Caleb, bro.
Thank you.
I'm just gonna speak on it. Get the dick out y'all mouth and look and be honest with yourself. Y'all are making this boy to be CJ Stroud right now. Yeah. And when he comes in and he's not that, y'all be the same fans who are running and saying, oh, we should have drafted X quarterback this year because he went to another team and he played well. We have not once had a quarterback his rookie year come in and play phenomenal. So we're going against the grain on that. Not also that, we have a kid who's coming in from the West Coast and then played in the South, coming to play in the cold.
Yeah.
Y'all just forget about that part as well.
Well, he's originally from DC, so he has played in the cold before.
But he ain't played in the cold in the past 3 or 4 years. That's my point.
That's true.
And then he's been in DC. He ain't been in Chicago off the lakefront. I want the boys to succeed. I really do. But I do not want to hear he's the next Caleb Williams. I mean, the next Patrick Mahomes. Don't want to hear he's the next Aaron Rodgers. I don't care about all that. What can you come into Chicago and do? That's all I care about. So it's when I'm sitting there saying, bro, it's far-fetched for people to be sitting there putting all these lofty expectations on them. It is, but that's what's being done. That is all that's being done. We've been told this kid is going to be all world. He can make every throw, he can read every defense and everything else.
Oh, okay, now we got it. So Muck the General is from the DMV area. He's a hometown kid pulling for his guy. Hey, I've been there, Muck. I was pulling for Will Levis last year because he came to Kentucky. He's still my guy, but I mean,
I love it.
He could be great, and he could not be great. We don't know. But to say, like someone said in the chat, he was better than CJ coming out last year. Nobody said that last year, and if they did, CJ Stroud would be a Panther, and we wouldn't even have the number 1 overall pick. So let's be real, guys. We see it every year.
And situation matters so much.
Put up on a pedestal.
Situation matters so much. Like this is even a Caleb thing. Like it's any quarterback that I mean, the Vikings are going to end up taking a quarterback. He's going to be drafted the same situation. You're playing in a pretty tough division. Green Bay looks feisty. Jordan Love's presumably only going to get better. Those receivers are only going to get better.
Not fucking right.
Well, I'm just, and then like the Lions are a motherfucker, man. Like the Lions are down. Ben Johnson's back. The Vikings, I understand the Vikings are in transition, but Brian Flores finally got some actual defensive pieces to start wrecking games with. And then I understand they're going to drop a rookie quarterback in, but Kevin O'Connell's shown no signs of not being a competent head coach. And I understand this is going to really set the chat off, but you don't win anything on paper. The Bears are number 4 in that division, and they will be until they show otherwise. You can bring in 10 Keenan Allens. I don't care. Show it to me. And they can't right now. I understand that, but that's to KB's point, and I appreciate just him standing on 10 toes about and being honest about the shit. I don't wish anything bad on Caleb Williams. I hope he comes here and does well. The Bears could use a good player, but to this whole point of calling him X level of great, that's a little rich. That's a little too soon. You need to hold off and see what he looks like. I watched Justin Fields get hawked down by Lucas Van Ness. I promise you that Caleb Williams isn't as fast as Justin Fields in a straight line. So the reality is if he's trying to run around and make these plays against these speedy edge rushers, it's not going to be the same result. So he's going to learn how to need to play from the pocket. The good news is on paper, this is what we're talking about. On paper, the Bears have done everything right for a rookie quarterback. Shane Waldron looks like a better option. They have 2 solid wide receivers. The offensive line has been bolstered. There should be better options, and nobody wants to do this, but you're going to have to wait to see it play out.
Yeah, I agree with that. They have tried to create an environment conducive to a quarterback improving and playing well, which we did not do for Justin. And maybe that led to him not being good, or maybe there are things about Justin that he has gotten away with all the way through high school, all the way through college, and through some of the NFL, just by being the most athletic, that Caleb is not as athletic as Justin, has to learn how to throw better, has to learn how to trust his arm a little bit more. I don't know. I
just want to say real quick, because I see like Willie Pete got a comment up there, like if the Vikings pick the wrong QB, it won't matter how good Kevin O'Connell is. I just want to, because this applies to the Bears a little bit too. My whole point is, and I don't necessarily think that there's like the right and the wrong quarterback. That's my whole point with the whole situation matters. The developmental track and the situation that you're drafted to is more important than you being the right or the wrong quarterback. I watched Kevin O'Connell turn Josh Dobbs into a fucking legitimate player for a period of time with the Vikings. I watched him make Jaron Hall look decent. I watched him take Kirk Cousins to new levels. So the whole point is that you can say, well, if they pick the wrong quarterback, and I know we're talking about the Vikings, but this is the same thing for the Bears. There isn't a right or a wrong quarterback. It's about how and what you do to develop and maximize that player. And this is the issue with Justin Fields, with Mitch Trubisky, with Jay Cutler, and otherwise. They did not make the moves to maximize and develop those players to hit their peak. That is the difference, and that's what you're hoping the Bears can do with the system that they've built around them, with Waldron, with Allen, with Komet, with Everett, with Ryan Bates, with Coleman Shelton, with DeAndre Swift. I mean, they've done a lot to add to it. But again, it's we got to see it in practice, and we're gonna see what that looks like. I mean, everything looks like by all accounts. The fact that you got Shane Waldron and all these other people in there, it would presume that it sounds like everybody's job is safe beyond this year. And this is KB. Or ACN KB. This is something that you both heard me say earlier weeks ago at this point. The reality is that you wanted Ryan Poles to go select his QB so that even if it went bad in year one, to KB's point of you're expecting playoffs, he's going to be able to say, well, come on, guys, it was our first year with my guy. Why don't we see this through? So, and for what it's worth, if I'm going to bitch and complain about Justin Fields not getting a fair shake, whether it's Caleb Williams, Drake May, whoever, all I want for that kid that gets drafted to the Bears is to get a true fair shake. Do not draft that kid and then go fire Eberflus in February.
Absolutely.
I wasn't a fan of keeping Eberflus. You better keep the train on the tracks. Don't change that. And that's what's going to be important for Caleb or whoever's drafted the Bears to succeed.
Yeah. I mean, I like what MMA Tip says here. Watch the tape. Caleb has an elite release and can make every throw. That's what makes him enticing to me, is that you do see, and I spoke about it earlier. I don't know when he joined the show, but I spoke about Justin's long delivery and his inability to make anticipatory throws, which he has struggled with his entire NFL career. He may, when teams go to zone, they take away his running option, which makes him panic and force the ball. Well, with Caleb, you're not so much a running option; you're more of a throwing option, and you have the ability to make all the throws. And I do like his release. It's more of a slingshot as opposed to the loopy delivery that Justin has always made. They didn't do any, as we've said several times, they didn't do any favors for Justin, and it seems like they've done more for Caleb already than they did for presuming Caleb is the pick.
They've done that by plenty. I was gonna say, you look at the track record for Justin, and this ain't even me just trying to back him, but just be honest. First year, you threw him into a shit situation where you knew the coach was gonna be fired at the end of the year. Then after that, you tore down everything around him and said, "Hey, we hope you improve." And then the third year, you did finally give him a couple pieces, but the couple pieces wasn't enough to make a team. And then you see that he didn't elevate the way that you wanted him to elevate. Now you have 2 top 10 receivers, presumably. DeAndre Swift is a hell of a running back. I don't think people were really paying attention to us signing him. Gerald Everett is a very solid tight end too, who was, I don't want to say he's putting up tight end 1 numbers with the Chargers, but I'm pretty sure he was he had more yards than Noah Fant did, which is wild to think.
There were some games where he was a go-to target where they clearly made him the game plan to get.
Yeah. So him, and then look at what they added. You swapped out Lucas Patrick and Cody Whitehair for Ryan Bates and the Coleman guy. They went and got another swing tackle. So I see that the Coleman guy is a bit average. But
what do you think of Aldo's thing here? It wouldn't be surprised if the Bears stay and now Joe Alt drops. I feel like they really love Braxton Jones. Every chance they get to say how much they love him, they talk about it. And they've given him every chance. I mean, maybe they go Joe Alt, but I
think you have to trade the pick.
I just don't think this one's that complicated. And for what it's worth, I mean, Aldo and I happen to be seeing the same way. Joe Alt's my tackle 1 in this class.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't say this, but to be a side, like sometimes you just got to look at what the team is telling you. They got a receiver. They determined that they would spend a draft pick on a receiver. Oh, well, they should draft a center in the first round, draft APJ. Well, no, they just traded for an interior offensive lineman and signed one. The only thing that they haven't picked up is a defensive end. Like sometimes it's just that simple. Like, and you don't have a second round pick, and it's also a bad edge class. There is not a depth of edges that are fantastic players. Like and whether that comes with trading the pick or not is a different story, but it's not going to be tackle or wide receiver. I mean, you'd have to have like Marvin Harrison Jr. there to take the receiver at number 9. Like it's just they're going to be a defensive end. And that's the whole thing. I mean, credit to Greg Gabriel, who I don't always see eye to eye with, but he said it from the beginning. Like, you guys that think that he's drafting a wide receiver or running back or any of these not, cheaper positional values when you have offensive line and defensive line or quarterback. Those are the position cornerback too. Those are the positions you're going to see him draft. And cornerback's filled. Quarterback's going to be taken at 1. Offensive line's already been taken care of with Darnell Wright and a few others. It's going to end up being that defensive end that the Bears are missing.
So I have a serious question. Has Chase Young been signed yet?
No, not. I mean, maybe it happened while we've been on the show, but I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen anything yet.
I don't know if Chase Young is really on their list because they had the ability to trade for him last year and chose Sweat correctly. Chose Montez Sweat. So and if they wanted a Chase Young, they could go right over to Sweat and say, "Hey, what do you think about your boy, the Predator, coming back?" I say the Predator because the Dreads probably not great. What do you think of Chase Young coming in and being opposite you again? So I feel like unless they're just trying to let the offseason play out and maybe the price come down a little bit, I just don't see them. I don't see them wanting Chase Young. And with Eberflus's big thing on loafs, etc., I've seen it. We saw it. Other than the Super Bowl, we saw it several times out of Chase Young where he just gives up on plays, and I do not think Eberflus would be happy with with having Chase Young.
No, and the reality is all of those represent patches to a problem. And I understand Keenan Allen kind of represents a patch to an issue as well. But it's just when you look at the draft class, it's a good deep receiver class. It's not a good deep edge class. And I understand I may be patching it with Keenan Allen, but I can go get other options to either learn or develop or be ready to go in later rounds at receiver. But the reality is whether I sign Chase Young or Yannick Ngakoue or any of those players that people are talking about in the chat, They represent pricey contracts because it's a valuable position and it's a patch job. When alternatively, I can get a guy for 4 years, 5th year with the option for a much cheaper, financially controlled price. This thing too is everybody, it's not the same way that it was now, but people were talking about like, oh man, we need to go get Neil Hunter. And I'm like, you guys are crazy if you think he's about to spend $50 million combined on 2 edges. Like that's just not going to happen. So the idea is it's super sweet to have the idea of Sweat makes his 20+ million a year. And then I've got a really competent edge player at the other end who's making a financially controlled contract for the next 5 years if he's good. Like that's the move.
If I'm all for the train down at 9, and then let's say we did trade with the Broncos. Broncos don't have a second round pick. Let's say
that was an example of like you can leverage them for picks that you can use those picks to end up getting into
to move up. Yeah. So I mean, let's just say you go with them, you get the extra third or whatever, and you find a way to trade back up into the second. I'm all for taking Jared Verse. Y'all, we've been singing Jared Verse's praises for a long, long time. I did start to become partial to Dallas Turner because I seen how hard the kid plays. Mm-hmm. And then you obviously have the elephant in the room of Latu. You know what I'm saying? You worry about the neck or whatever the case may be, but if the medicals are clearing, you're getting a hell of a player in him. But if you can trade back to whatever the Broncos are at, 12 or 13, and you can find a way to pick up Verse and then trade up into the second to grab a wide receiver, just so you can have them come in and develop under Keenan Allen, that's the move you make. That's absolutely the move you make. Yeah, because like I said, I feel like there are still spots that do need to be plugged. Edge is a glaring one at the moment.
Well, I'm just looking at the draft here. I just pulled up the first round. Right behind us is the Jets, who presumably is going to go left tackle.
Oh, they just got Tyron Smith. So,
they did sign. That's weird.
But they also lost
Smith, but they didn't sign. What's the name?
Becton.
Buddy from Green Bay.
Yeah, no. So the Bakhtiari's still a free agent. They signed Tyron Smith to be the left tackle. Traded for Morgan Moses to be their right tackle. I'm not telling you like. To be fair, they could still maybe want like an offensive tackle as a development guy, but I don't. They're another team like
it's not guaranteed. Then
we're pushing the gas right now. Aaron Rodgers is old. We want to win, so taking this was the whole like. Would it be? Let me give you a good example. Would it be wise for the Jets to draft a quarterback to develop behind Aaron Rodgers? Absolutely, that would be a really smart move for them.
We've already seen how he reacts to first round quarterbacks sitting behind.
They're pushing the gas down. So I hear you, but like to that point, if I thought they'd take an offensive lineman too, but now they've traded for Morgan Moses, they've acquired Tyron Smith off the free agent market. What's to stop them from getting a Brock Bowers or another edge? They just lost Bryce Huff, so they're hoping Will McDonald develops into that. But this is the reality: is they have positions they can take too. But I wouldn't be too worried about them taking edge. I think that they could be a candidate that wants to move back. They got their tackles now. They can try to go pick up like an Amarius Mims at 20.
Yeah. And then behind them, you've got the Vikings, who I've already spoke on. I don't think the Bears will trade with the Vikings. And Jordan, you said they'll probably move up.
Yeah, they're not going to be there.
Yeah, they're not going to jump 2 spots. Then you've got the Broncos at 12. You've got the Raiders at 13. You've got the Saints at 14. All 3 of those could be teams that come up and try to get their quarterback. You've got the Colts at 15. Then after that, what's enticing to me, the Seahawks at 16, the Jaguars at 17, the Bengals at 18. If the Bengals want to come up and add a Brock Bowers to their weapons, 18, I feel like you could still possibly get Jared Verse. Obviously, it's a guess. It's a crapshoot. But I feel like you could get. But I don't know what kind of return you're going to get for that.
New Orleans scares me a bit. That's the team that really bothers me because I'm sitting there like Cam Jordan's getting older. Peyton Turner didn't work out. I know Carl Granderson's a good player, but they just the same thing. They don't think about the future. They're just in for the year. So I see them being a threat for a guy like Verse. Indianapolis has drafted edges. I think they go corner. Seattle's got a decent pair of edges, but I also think Mike McDonald could probably go for a guy that's an edge. I'm not saying that'd be Verse, but maybe he'd like Verse. Jacksonville just put the tag on Josh Allen, and you'd hope he get paid. But I just don't believe Jacksonville's a competent organization either. They'll find a way to let him walk, like the Brian Burns situation, and they may need an edge.
Well, they might have questions about Trevor Lawrence. I mean, they're trading for Mac Jones. Are they going to give Trevor Lawrence that big max contract that he would max get? I have no idea.
I mean, and I promise I'm not trying to drag us back into the depths of what KB was talking about with Caleb Williams and what he should be at the Bears. But like, is there no better look than, I mean, that was the last, like somebody, I think KB, you had said like the last generational quarterback since Andrew Luck. No, the last generational quarterback was Trevor Lawrence. And I see MMA tips saying Lawrence is good. He is good. He's a solid player. But look no further than like that was Mr. Bulletproof. Like he was amazing. He was going to be a dude. And it's not like, this is my whole point of like not the right or the wrong quarterback, but he got drafted to a situation and a team that didn't put the best things around him to make sure he was successful. And even now, 3 years in, he's good. He's solid, but that's Mr. Generational. And he's like maybe the 9th or 10th best quarterback in the league, if I'm being generous. I mean, who's ahead of him? You got Dak. I'd probably take Kirk over Trevor Lawrence right now. Kirk's shown more than Trevor Lawrence has at this point in his career. And I know I'm not telling you like the next 10 years, but right now, if you had to have a singular season with Trevor Lawrence or Kirk Cousins, like I'd probably take Kirk Cousins.
So I got a fun question to ask. Real fun question. Where do the Bengals pick again? What number?
18.
18? Okay, so it's a little far. If the Bengals came and knocked, I feel like the Bears cap situation is still sitting around 50,000, because I heard we were still doing decent after the Keenan Allen shit.
Oh, 50 million. Yeah, I mean Bears are fine.
So if there was a way you could swing it, there was still an edge on the board that you liked at 18. Well, there would still be an edge on the board at 18 that you liked. Let's say Verse and Turner going,
it's chopping.
Latu and Chop Robinson on the board. Bengals call you. Hey, we'll give you our first right now in T. Higgins to trade up. They're coming up. T. Higgins is very disgruntled.
Yeah.
He requested a trade out of there.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Trade then?
Yeah, that'd be great.
There's a very good possibility you can kill two birds with one stone at that point.
I don't see them
giving
us T. Higgins and a draft pick. I think they would say, we'll give you T. Higgins for your draft pick.
I also just don't
stay at 18.
I also just don't see how that works. Like, again, it's all about where's the team at in their build. And like they're pushing. They want to win a Super Bowl.
Right.
And so, I appreciate it, KB. I'm not like trying to besmirch it.
This is just a hypothetical.
But it's like, I'm going to give you my second weapon in T. Higgins to move up to go get my second weapon in Brock Bowers. Like,
I'm in Bengals country, man.
Though. Like, I know what T. Higgins is. He's a good number 2. With Brock Bowers, who could be a good number, like for a team that's pushing, like that doesn't make sense.
I'm in Bengals country, and I'm telling you that the talk of Justin Jefferson going to Cincinnati, they are head over heels in love with that idea.
Oh,
why you think that Justin
Jefferson? They even are to the point where they're like, we did okay with Browning, we'll put Burrow in, then send them Burrow. Like, no,
they didn't.
Dude, I'm telling you, I live in the area. I'm an hour from Cincinnati. That is all the talk of Bengals fans is they're going to put Chase and have Jefferson on the other side. That's their pipe dream.
I mean, that's just, again, like you don't let Kirk Cousins go and save that payday to not pay Justin Jefferson.
Well, Justin's not very happy, it seems like.
Well, yeah, no, it's I don't know. I mean, I think it's an interesting time. Obviously, I know KB, you seem to be high on the DeAndre Swift acquisition.
Oh, I'm okay.
I'm gonna say you're a little better than me on that one. I'm not nearly as high on the DeAndre Swift.
I'll say this. Because I lived in a pipe dream world where we're getting Saquon, so
okay,
leave me alone. Okay, Saquon's my favorite running back in the league. So
at least they were in talks with him. They were trying.
I was gonna say they was in talks with him until he brought down that contract offer. This is what I want. No, we can't do that, dog.
We can't guarantee you all that, bro.
Right. This is why I say it's intriguing to me. I believe Swift has the cutback ability that is very rare in the league. He can put his foot in the ground and be changing direction in a heartbeat. I feel like he can do everything that you're asking him, you know what I'm saying, that you're going to ask of him. I feel like he has a very similar running style to like a Kenneth Walker, which is who Waldron had. And I'm very, very sure that he loved Kenneth Walker. I don't know if Swift is as fast as Kenneth Walker. Probably not. But I do believe he might be a little bit more shifty than him. But you started to see the evolution in his game for him going into Philly, then obviously you're behind that O-line. So running in between the tackles wouldn't have been, you know what I'm saying? It's not too scary. It's like, all right, cool. They can actually open up holes. I can run between the tackles. So I'm not saying it was the best move of the free agency period at all, by any means. Do I feel like there were other running backs we could have grabbed? Yeah. I'm okay with DeAndre Swift in the backfield. I do not think that even his year in Philly is the height of what he can do. I think he can be better than that.
I hope you're right. I hope you're right.
That's going off of me hoping.
Yeah. No, I hope you're right.
Don Burr watched him.
Yeah.
When they drafted him.
And like I said, for everything that he's saying, Don Burr, he did do that shit when he was in Detroit. In Detroit, he started to look like a bust. I mean, that's just being honest. Then he went to Philly, and he got behind the Philly O-line and decided he was going to play.
Yeah.
I mean, we can only hope that he carries that to the Bears. That's all I'm hoping for. Like I said, I'm not saying the dude's going to be a top 5 running back by any means or any stretch of the meaning. I just know if you had to put me in a room and say you had to pick between him, Khalil, Herbert, and say who would be better, I would lean towards Swift.
Oh, absolutely.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. If it's between that, and all due respect to Khalil Herbert, I just feel like Swift gives you a little bit more. He
a little bit better catcher out the backfield. Can pass pro better than Herbert does.
I heard the opposite. Honestly, I was listening to CHGO the day that they signed Swift, and they had a guy on. I believe he was from either The Athletic or for PHLY, which is their sister network in Philadelphia, and he said that DeAndre Swift was not a good pass blocker.
Really?
Like they actually pulled him out in some situations to put in a Kenneth Gainwell or a who's the other guy they got? Scott.
Boston Scott.
To because they like their pass pro better than
he's
Swift.
He's not a good pass protection back, but he's a willing one, which means like he has enough wherewithal to realize where the blitzers are coming from, and he'll put his nose in there, but he gets blown up every time. So it's Roschon Johnson's going to continue to be that guy for the Bears in the back. And I'm hoping that Rojo comes along in that second year and shows off.
Nice.
He's going to be your goal line back, in my opinion. I like Swift. I like his speed, but he leaves much to be desired with his drop a shoulder and run through a motherfucker face, as Marshawn Lynch so eloquently put in his career. He would much rather go around someone than go through them a lot of times, which leads to what Don Burr said of him dancing in the backfield to lose 4 yards. Bears fans are going to lose their daggone minds. I mean, when we went to Chicago last year, KB, and watched Deontay Foreman have a game of his life running over, around, and through the entire defense of Las Vegas Raiders, and to sign DeAndre Swift to not run like that, Bears fans are not going to be happy with that, in my opinion. I mean, I don't want to make it sound like I hate the signing. I'm fine. I'm perfectly fine with the signing. Yeah. I just don't want him to be put on a pedestal of being
absolutely
everything do everything back. I don't think he's that.
Absolutely
I think
not.
this is a running back by committee. Roshan Johnson gives you a run through, and Swift and Herbert give you some of the same attributes of running around and past.
No, I just think the really important thing to distinguish, and something that KB said, which I agree with you, KB, that I definitely think the impetus and the reason to be the first out the gate in free agency in the tampering period to sign Swift came from a similar view of he can be our Kenneth Walker. My big difference and why I was down on the signing is one of my biggest issues with Swift is that I don't particularly think that his vision is exceptional. What I mean by that is he typically gets what is blocked for him. So if the O-line is pushing 3 or 4 yards, that's what you get. That is the key difference between Kenneth Walker and DeAndre Swift is that Kenneth Walker showed enough creativity to pull off runs that were not blocked for as much as what he got. So, play says it should be roughly 4 or 5 yards. He'd find a way to turn it into 12. I do not often see that with DeAndre Swift, and that is why I think, and there's a difference. That's why Kenneth Walker's on a financially controlled contract, and he's a second-round pick, and he looks fine. But to me, that's where you're taking a bit of a swing on a DeAndre Swift at that price. But we'll see. I mean, we'll see how it plays out. I'm excited to see with Waldron, he's going to plop all 3 of those running backs out there at some point and have them go in all different ways, and we'll see how it works.
Yeah, I think he tweeted something to the effect of Swift being his Kenneth Walker in this offense. So, and yeah, they used a bunch of different backs in Seattle.
No, what's lovely is like you fellas know how much I loved Roshan Johnson last year, and that hasn't changed. But Zach Charbonnet was my running back 1 last year, and Roshan Johnson is just like Zach Charbonnet in a lot of ways. So, like, to me, he's trying to recreate Seattle, which is why you got the F tight end and Gerald Everett, who's like Noah Fant. You get the Will Dissly tight end and Cole Kmet, who's already there. You get Kenneth Walker and Swift, Zach Charbonnet and Rojo. You get your shit. I don't necessarily think it's a 1-to-1 with DJ Moore and Keenan Allen on the outside, but you have 2 competent receivers outside like they had in Seattle. Yep. It's looking very similar in a lot of ways.
Yep.
All right, fellas. We talked about the trade of Justin Fields. We talked about the trade of Keenan Allen. We talked about some free agency. I think it's pretty close to close this thing on out. So I'll pass to you guys to do shout outs and anything else, and we'll come back probably the week of the draft. Yeah, I haven't decided yet if I want to do a pre-draft show or if I just want to do a post-draft show and react to whatever happens in the drafts, but we got a couple of weeks to figure that out, and I'll let you guys know from that. But I'll start with Jordan and then KB. We'll go this way, and then I'll wrap us up.
Sounds good. Well, shout out to you fellas as always, and Tooch and Chris. I hope, Chris, you're feeling better. But as always, it's a joy to do this. And like I said, AC, keep those good sources coming where you knew that Fields would be traded. We'd have a show the day after, so keep that good. But no, shout out to you fellas. Always appreciate talking this. Chat, you're always phenomenal in the worst and best of ways. You really don't miss it. You cover the whole span, so appreciate it as well. There was over 500 at one point watching this. Please like, share, subscribe. I know it sounds like, it's always what we're going to say, but Aldo was in here at one point. Aldo can tell you how much that helps the algorithm, and the lights stay on because of Aldo. So you're not helping me, help Aldo. With that said, we'll see you all sometime soon. Best of luck to the Bears. There's plenty of work to be done, plenty of things to be seen, and I think that brighter days are ahead, hopefully, for the Chicago Bears. Thank you, everybody. Bear down.
Bear down. All right, go ahead, KB.
Man, shout out to everybody like always, man. First foremost, shout out to y'all boys, man. Y'all boys is doing your thing for over an hour before I even got on, man. Y'all been up being tough on this, especially my boy Jordan. I know he tired of shit. So second of all, shout out to the chat. Like Jordan put, y'all cover the whole span. You have some folks who are good, some folks that are bad, some folks that are in between. I get it. Folks want to say what they want to say. Like I said, it's fine. Don't got no problem with it. I know ain't nobody gonna say shit to my face. Don't care. Third of all, man, I just want to say, hey, we're gearing up for a hell of a season, man. It's gonna be good in one way or another. That's all I know. I don't know which way yet, but it's gonna be good. So I'm excited for what happens, man. I'm excited for the draft to see what happens. Just overall, I'm setting myself up as a Bears fan, man. I'm putting my expectations up high. Shout out to everybody else in the bar room, man. I've heard talks of a possible super show for the draft, like we do every year, and it's going to be a lot of moving parts, from my understanding. It's going to be a lot of, hey, this show's doing something. This show's doing something. Hey, let this person jump into this show. Then this person's going to jump into a show. Yeah. So it's going to be all over the place, but I can't wait. It's going to be phenomenal. It's going to be a great time. So thank y'all, man. Love y'all boys, man.
Absolutely. Love you too, brother. Yeah, I mean, if that's something that happens with the draft show, I would definitely like to hop on, and even if it's just reacting to us drafting Caleb Williams and giving opinions there. I love the draft, and for anyone who does love the draft and love your Chicago Bears, if you tune in, I believe it's every Wednesday night. Draft on Tap. Danny Shimon's on there. Jordan has been going on there and giving scouting reports as well. Talk about everything in the draft, from pass rusher to offensive line to what they've covered everything. I usually catch it on podcast the next morning. That's why I'm not 100% sure on the night, the date, and all that. But that's a great show for the draft. Baseball season's coming back. The Chicago White Sox traded away Dylan Cease, and the boys from the South Burb Hitmen went on live and did a podcast on that. The Chicago Cubs will be starting off their season. March 28th is opening day. They're down in Texas for opening day. They'll be in Cincinnati the first weekend in June, and I've already been looking at tickets. So if you're a Cubs fan or a White Sox fan, you can tune into Crosstown Crosstalk as the baseball season gets underway. Vinny Parisi runs that, as well as a hockey show called Bar Down Hockey Talk, where him and Chicago Bean, I believe is what he goes by, talk a ton of hockey. I've been getting into hockey this year thanks to Connor Bedard. But if you're into hockey, that's a great show where they talk about the whole league, for sure. But yeah, I mean, just the best way to stay tuned in is to, and we were up over 550. We're at 527 right now, and we have 55 likes on YouTube. So if you could, please give us a like, comment, subscribe, share. The best way to know when the bar room is live is to hit that little bell. It'll tell you when we go live, and we cover, as I just mentioned, we cover all sports, all Chicago sports, all. Other than the Chicago Sky, I guess we don't have a show for them, or the Fire. But for the most part, for the major sports, the Bulls, the Bears, the Cubs, and Sox, right here on the Barroom Network, there's no better place to tune in and get your information and have some good talk. Absolutely, shout out to the chat for everything that they contributed today. Whether they were Caleb fans or, as we were getting called, Justin sexuals several times through the chat, fellas. I guess if that's what it is, then that's what it is. But I don't know. And like I said, we'll come back.
That's how I felt for my boy Justin Fields in Pittsburgh. It's going to be a good spot for him.
I think so too. I think he can go there and he can either learn behind Russ for a year and then take over, or maybe he takes over during the season if it doesn't jive well with that locker room. But like I said, we'll come back for the draft and cover all that. But until then, we'll just leave everybody with a bear down.
Bear down.